The following day, a waitress responded to a call in Russian, all while a millionaire looked on, and soon after, she found herself aboard a private jet. "Please, could you send me an email instead? Your words elude my comprehension." The man's voice held a resolute quality, yet it was unmistakably tinged with strain. "I mentioned that I do not converse in Russian. Could you please lower your voice for just a moment?" He drew the phone a fraction away from his ear, shutting his eyes for a moment as if attempting to conjure the words into a form he could grasp. A soft voice murmured beside him, "I don't think they'll email." He pivoted his head with sudden intensity, catching sight of a young woman clad in a worn black apron. Her brown curls were neatly gathered, and in her left hand she clutched a notepad, her expression tinged with caution. "I speak Russian," she added, her tone a blend of softness and assurance. "I would be glad to assist you, should you desire it." He paused for just a moment before passing her the phone, his face taut with a sense of urgency. She raised the phone to her ear, nodding gracefully as she absorbed the conversation, her replies flowing in smooth, deliberate Russian. Her voice transformed, flowing with a smooth precision, authoritative yet gentle. She sought clarification, reiterated several details, and hastily jotted something down on a paper napkin with a pen that had been nestled behind her ear. The dialogue concluded in a mere 2 minutes. With a graceful motion, she returned the phone, carefully folded the napkin, and glided it across the table toward him. "Please confirm Class 4 via email by 5 p.m. She spoke with a serene confidence, stating that Moscow time would dictate their next steps in negotiations. Failure to engage would lead them to conclude that you are dismissing the counterproposal, resulting in the withdrawal of the licensing offer. He gazed intently at her. At long last, after what felt like an eternity, his jaw finally relaxed its grip. He blinked once, and then said, "You just helped me save the biggest deal I've been chasing all quarter." With a subtle smile, she expressed her satisfaction in being of assistance. She pivoted, ready to depart. She hesitated, a moment of stillness enveloping her. He delved into his jacket, retrieving a polished silver business card, which he extended toward her with a subtle flourish. "Alexander Stone, the esteemed Chief Executive Officer of Stone International." She proceeded with caution, her gaze darting between the card and his expression. "I'm Olivia," she said, her voice slipping out with an air of routine, "but I just work here." He cast her a glance, neither amused nor dismissive, but probing. "If you ever seek a position that aligns with your evident talents," he remarked, "don't hesitate to call that number." And just like that, he vanished. She lingered by the counter for quite some time, the card clutched in her hand, while the napkin bearing her translation remained on the table. Outside, the rain had ceased, yet the atmosphere remained charged with an electric anticipation, as if the world itself held its breath, waiting for the inevitable shift. With a swift motion, she slipped the card into the back pocket of her jeans, then made her way back to her station, where she continued the rhythmic task of wiping down the tables. Yet within her chest, a change had occurred. Unbeknownst to her, a mere 5-minute phone call was poised to ignite a narrative far grander than her own existence. Olivia slipped inside with a soft hush. The apartment occupied a modest space on the 2nd floor, its windowsill adorned with peeling paint, while the persistent scent of disinfectant hung in the air like an unwelcome guest. Clara, her sister, occupied the living room as she often did, surrounded by a fortress of pillows, a book resting open yet neglected in her lap. "It's late," Olivia replied, placing her bag down before stepping over to inspect the IV drip. "You're doing just fine." "I brought your favorite soup," Clara smiled, her attention elsewhere. "The type that features those tiny noodles?" "Is it the precise type?" Olivia's voice remained unwavering, a stark contrast to the tumult within her heart. 3 jobs, 6 prescriptions, and rent looming in 4 days, everything dangled by threads she tightened with each passing day. Yet, she retrieved her well-loved notebook before retiring for the night, flipping through pages filled with Russian idioms and intricate sentence structures. The pages bore the marks of time, adorned with hasty notes from college days that had slipped away all too quickly. She recited a line from Pushkin, softly murmuring it into the shadows. "Even the most shadowy of nights shall eventually draw to a close." With a gentle sigh, She surrendered to slumber, her eyes fluttering shut as she nestled into the armchair beside her sister's bed. When dawn broke, she found herself with 2 missed calls and a solitary text waiting for her. "Good morning, Miss Olivia. I am Amanda, the assistant to Mr. Alexander Stone. You are cordially invited to attend a meeting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Today, location, 4938 Ashwood Avenue." Her heart stumbled. She pored over it thrice. The name, the address. She had anticipated a mere courteous acknowledgement at most. Not this, not something that resonated with such weight. For the next 6 hours, she found herself caught in a whirlwind of doubt about her outfit. Nothing in her closet appeared even slightly suitable for the occasion. She chose a dark blouse, paired it with black jeans, and slipped on the only pair of shoes that bore no visible scuff marks. Ashwood Avenue revealed itself as a slender path, bordered by towering evergreens and imposing electric gates. A guard glanced at her name, then gestured for her to pass. She traced the signs with her gaze until she stood before an expansive hangar. Within its confines, a polished white private jet rested on the tarmac, its stairway extended, engines softly humming in anticipation. "This way, please. I thought I was here for a meeting," she said quickly, her confusion evident. "You are now part of the journey." Her legs propelled her forward, a step ahead of her thoughts. She ascended the steps, her heart racing. Indeed, this must be an error. Perhaps there existed another Olivia. Within the cabin, an ambience of leather and understated elegance enveloped the space, while at the far end Alexander Stone prepared for the moment, rolling up his sleeves with a steaming cup cradled in his hand. "I assumed you weren't one for coffee," he remarked, extending the cup towards me. "It is authentic Swiss hot cocoa." She accepted it without a second thought. I envisioned this as a dialogue unfolding in a cozy cafe. His lips formed a subtle arc. "We are embarking on a journey to Vancouver. The Russian delegation consented to advance the meeting by 48 hours. Your presence is essential to me." She fluttered her eyelashes. "This is not my area of expertise. I pour coffee. I toil through the night at the hospital. My sister?" He raised a hand, not to reject her, but to temper her dissent. "You are indeed the sole individual I've encountered in the past 6 months capable of eliciting a pause and a smile from a Russian executive. Your command of language is evident, and your presence is undeniable. I don't require a seasoned interpreter with 10 years of experience in contracts. Your presence is essential to me." Her gaze fell to the cup, cradled in her hands, before drifting up to meet his eyes. "You hardly know me at all. I possess sufficient knowledge. You heard, you took action, and now you stand before us." The door of the plane sealed with a soft hiss, while the engines erupted into a thunderous roar. "What if I were to decline?" He inclined his head. "It is unlikely that you will. It seems to me that you stand firm when it truly counts." She exhaled unsteadily and sank into the closest chair. What should I choose to wear for a negotiation? For the first time, a smile graced his lips. "You have adorned yourself with it." She cast her gaze upon her attire, a sense of bewilderment washing over her. "You arrived," he remarked. "That will suffice." The jet glided along the runway, while Olivia gazed out the window, her heart racing to keep pace with her thoughts. Uncertain of the destination that awaited her, she found herself boarding the plane, and within her, a small flicker of hope had begun to ignite once more. The jet ascended to its cruising altitude, transforming the landscape below into a tapestry of muted gray and shimmering silver. Olivia perched rigidly in her cream-hued leather seat, her fingers tightly gripping the cup of cocoa that had long lost its warmth. Her old blue button-down, freshly ironed yet crumpled by nerves, seemed incongruous amidst the surrounding elegance. She delicately crossed her ankles, making a conscious effort to avoid marring the gleaming floor beneath her. Her bag rested quietly beside her on the floor. A corner of a worn notebook peeked out from within. Alexander lingered in silence, seated opposite her, his words held captive. He scrolled through emails on his tablet, yet occasionally his eyes wandered to her, silent and contemplative. As the aircraft shuddered gently through a wave of turbulence, Olivia instinctively recoiled. She cast a fleeting glance out the window, feigning ignorance of the unsettling twist in her stomach. Alexander observed. Silently he rose, traversed the cabin, and extended his hand into the overhead compartment. A moment later, he reappeared, not bearing a blanket but rather a soft wool coat. He extended it to her. She paused, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. He stated it plainly just in case. She accepted it. The air was warm, infused with a subtle scent of cedar and an elusive fragrance that eluded her grasp, something luxurious yet effortlessly refined. He presented her with a meticulously folded napkin. "I noticed you wipe your hands on your jeans when we took off," he remarked, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "Aye, old habit," she muttered, flustered. "You're doing well." He settled back into his seat, a newfound ease washing over him. "Have you ever experienced the sensation of being on a plane?" "There was a time," she confessed, "when I was 12, yet it was a journey marked by frugality and turbulence." "This one's better," he remarked, allowing a moment of silence to linger. "But I understand the nerves." In that moment, her gaze met his, and curiosity triumphed over the flutter of her anxiety. "You appear to be someone who remains composed under pressure." He reclined, arms crossed in a gesture of contemplation. "The issue lies with tailored suits and private jets. Individuals often believe they serve as a protective shield." Her smile widened, a flicker of surprise dancing in her eyes at his unexpected honesty. He added that his mother was a translator, raised in the enchanting city of St. Petersburg. "Before I could even spell my own name in English, she introduced me to the art of counting in Russian," Olivia murmured, a hint of admiration in her voice. "She must be proud. She departed from this world when I was just 17. Apologies escaped his lips as he nodded, echoing the sentiment. "Me too." They lingered in silence for a moment, the soft hum of the engines weaving an invisible thread between them. Olivia cast a fleeting look at her notebook, drew it onto her lap, and opened it with a deliberate motion. Pages filled with handwritten Russian phrases, grammar rules emphasized with underlines, and small sketches of vocabulary. Though worn and weathered, it belonged to her, Alexander observed. "That's not merely a trivial acquisition," he remarked. She confessed that she had been studying for years, commenced during my college years. "I envisioned a future where I could serve at an embassy or perhaps even the United Nations. Yet, life often diverges from the path of our dreams." He remained silent. "I made the decision to leave. My sister was involved in a car accident. She required constant attention, so I accepted any work that came my way." Her thumb glided along the edge of the notebook. "I persevered in my studies nonetheless, not because I believed it would take me anywhere, but rather to ensure I wouldn't lose sight of the person I aspired to become." Then she added, almost as if revealing a secret, "I studied things I was afraid to use, but at least it made me feel like I hadn't vanished." He remained silent for a moment. Upon doing so, his voice took on a different quality, softer and more subdued. He remarked that he had encountered countless individuals who spoke as if they had claimed the world for themselves. "Yet, you are the first individual I've encountered in quite some time who articulates as though they have truly endured it." She gazed at him, taken aback. "Olivia, you are not unseen." A sensation lodged itself in her chest. Neither a compliment nor an expression of pity. Something more substantial, more inviting. He gazed out the window. "In just an hour, we will touch down. I will provide you with a summary of the meeting as we approach the date." She inclined her head in agreement. Her heart continued to flutter, though not due to the height. Outside, the clouds gradually started to disperse. The boardroom, nestled within the elegant glass tower, offered a panoramic view of the Vancouver harbor, where vessels drifted quietly under the warm embrace of the late afternoon sun. Within the confines of the room, an atmosphere of palpable tension lingered, characterized by a delicate interplay of formal nods, fine porcelain cups, and meticulously crafted opening remarks. Olivia positioned herself next to Alexander at the oval conference table, a slender microphone poised before her, while a small glass of water remained untouched to her right. Across the table, 5 Russian executives sat, their eyes keen and their postures unyielding beneath the weight of dark suits. The eldest, Mr. Antonov, led the delegation, each of his words carefully chosen and imbued with significance. She inhaled deeply as he spoke, absorbing not merely the words, but the tone, the subtlety, the way his gaze danced between Alexander and the papers laid out before him. She then proceeded to translate. Her voice resonated with a serene clarity, yet it was imbued with the nuanced inflections that held significance. The hesitance woven into Antonov's initial statement, the cautious endorsement in his subsequent remark, the swell of pride that accompanied his recounting of the company's legacy. She reflected it all in English, flawlessly and without hesitation. Alexander offered occasional nods, responding with a calm assurance. She rendered his words anew, seamlessly transitioning into Russian with the dignified formality that the occasion demanded. At a certain moment when a younger Russian delegate whispered a joke, she chose not to translate it verbatim. Instead, she skillfully captured its essence in English, prompting a faint smile from Alexander and a light laugh from the other side of the table. In that moment, a subtle warmth flickered in Mr. Antonov's eyes. After 2 hours, they paused for tea. Olivia meticulously perused her notes, turning the pages of her notebook with careful precision. Her heart raced beneath her blouse, yet outwardly, she embodied a picture of elegance amidst the storm. As the third hour drew to a close, the draft agreement found provisional acceptance, awaiting final revisions and the necessary sign-off from both boards. Mr. Antonov rose, his hand outstretched toward Alexander. Boards. You have our respect, Mr. Stone, he said, his voice carrying the weight of sincerity in Russian. He then made a gesture towards Olivia. Yet, the woman beside you holds our hearts in her hands. Alexander blinked, taken aback. Olivia rendered the words, her cheeks flushing with a delicate hue. With a smile, Antonov remarked that it is a rare experience to feel truly understood in the world of business. She created an atmosphere where we felt both acknowledged and valued. Upon leaving the building, they found the sun had already descended, draping a golden glow over the glistening streets. Olivia trailed a few paces behind Alexander, her notebook held tightly against her chest, uncertain of what would unfold next. He halted by the park gate and glanced back. "Come," he said softly. "Let's take a stroll." They ventured onto the serene path illuminated by the soft glow of street lamps. The trees murmured softly above. "You were perfect," he said at last. She let out a quiet, self-aware chuckle. Fear gripped me, yet he remained unfazed. She expressed her gladness, yet I found myself feeling otherwise. They continued their journey in quietude for a few more steps. He cast a sidelong glance in her direction. "Your words have shifted my perspective today. Concerning what matter?" He paused, at the brink of a modest fountain, gazing into the depths of the shadowy water, exploring the essence of what it truly means to be sufficient. I found myself amidst Ivy League degrees, eloquent speakers and experts who command a hefty fee for their time. He paused. Not a single one of them ever brought a smile to Antonov's face. She gazed at him, a flicker of doubt in her eyes. He faced her, his voice now a mere whisper. "Your words have illuminated the truth that often, the finest things are not those we are led to believe they are. It's not always the individual boasting the most extensive credentials. At times, it is the individual who toils into the night, absorbing knowledge solely because it holds significance for them. The individual who never anticipated the door would swing wide." Olivia found herself at a loss for words. Her throat constricted. Alexander gazed at her with tenderness. "Today you turned the handle and stepped through a doorway." Her gaze fell upon her hands. "Unbeknownst to me, I possessed the key all along." He offered a smile, choosing to remain silent. The night air enveloped them in a serene embrace of unspoken connection. And deep within Olivia, a change began to stir. No longer the girl who hesitated to dream, but a woman whose voice had just conveyed more than mere words. 2 days after their return from Vancouver, the invitation arrived. Olivia had only just begun to find her way back into the familiar cadence of her life. Returning to the cafe for another shift, she found herself once again by her sister's side in the evenings, when her phone vibrated with an official email from Stone International. The subject line announced, "Offer of position, Communications Consultant, Stone International Headquarters." Her hands quivered as she navigated through the message. It was indeed genuine. They sought her, not merely for her translation skills, but for a purpose far grander. a permanent role within the international communications team. It represented a reliable income, comprehensive health benefits, and the freedom to tend to Clara's needs. It signified acknowledgement and a sensation she had been devoid of for years, a surge of progress. She accepted. By Monday, she found herself on the 38th floor of a gleaming glass tower in downtown LA, perched at a glass desk that offered a breathtaking view of the skyline. Her name graced the door: Olivia Bennett, communications consultant. The initial weeks were nothing short of thrilling. She played a pivotal role in enhancing presentations for international clients, supported the PR team in gearing up for global launches, and even reworked several crucial sections of a keynote speech that Alexander would ultimately deliver with a impeccable finesse to an audience of European executives. Politeness and respect permeated the atmosphere, though not without exception. Upon her arrival at the office on that inaugural day, Rachel was the first to extend a warm greeting. Lofty in stature, impeccably attired, bearing a rehearsed smile, and possessing eyes that remained perpetually unyielding. "Welcome to the big leagues," Rachel had remarked, her tone warm yet somewhat detached. "If you require assistance in staying on track, just let me know." With a warm smile, Olivia expressed her gratitude and promptly set about her tasks. Yet, subtle changes started to unfold in the ensuing fortnight. A meticulously translated file had vanished without a trace. A client's name was misspelled in a memo she insisted she had reviewed twice. Documents she had saved, complete with timestamps, were inexplicably altered after hours. Then arrived the true devastation. A significant contract, crafted for a Russian client whom Olivia had previously captivated, was dispatched with 3 crucial mistranslations, petite terms, yet profound consequences. The client reacted without delay, seething with anger, charging the company with misrepresenting the terms, and threatening to abandon the deal altogether. Olivia found herself momentarily speechless as the news landed on her desk. She accessed her original file, where the accurate terms awaited her discovery. She retrieved the one that had been sent, mirroring the format, yet modified. With a quiet purpose, she made her way directly to Rachel's desk. "Were you able to access this file?" Rachel blinked, her expression flawless and captivating. "I oversee all outgoing client correspondence." "But why is that important?" Olivia remained silent. 60 minutes later, she found herself summoned to HR. While they refrained from direct accusations, the underlying message was unmistakable. According to the logs, she was the final person to handle the file. Faced with the precarious state of the client relationship, she found herself on temporary suspension, awaiting the outcome of an internal review. She meticulously gathered her belongings, taking her time with each item. Her hands remained steady, yet a tremor stirred within her chest. As she approached the elevator, she discovered that her badge had been rendered inactive. That night she lay awake. Clara inquired about her troubles, yet Olivia merely offered a smile. "It was merely an oversight at work. I will rectify it." On the following morning, a personal message arrived for her from Alexander's assistant. "Mr. Stone cordially invites you to join him in his office at 9 o'clock in the morning. Kindly proceed directly." Uncertainty lingered in her mind, caught between the notion of a summons and the weight of a farewell. Yet she pressed on. As the elevator door slid open to reveal the top floor, an eerie silence enveloped the hallway. The door to his office stood ajar. She crossed the threshold. A solitary cup of hot cocoa rested on the edge of the expansive wooden desk, steam spiraling gracefully into the air. Next to it, a note penned in rich blue ink. "If you have dared to step into the heart of a tempest once, then today, I trust you possess the courage to stand firmly at the core of your being." She lifted her gaze. Alexander lingered by the window, arms folded, his stance poised and enigmatic. Initially, he remained silent. She advanced with measured steps, retrieving the note first, followed by the cocoa. "It wasn't me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I am aware." That brought her to a halt. He pivoted, at last locking eyes with her. "I have requested it to retrieve the logs. The file was modified using your credentials after hours from a distant IP address." "Rachel," Olivia murmured. He inclined his head in acknowledgement. "She's currently under investigation, but that does not alter the perception, at least not yet." Swift action was imperative. The suspension followed the necessary protocols. "Yet I never thought it was a mistake on your part." Her throat constricted. "Why was I not informed? I wanted to see if you would return," he remarked. If you were to enter this place with your head held high, you certainly did. She remained silent. He moved in closer, delicately retrieving the cocoa from her grasp and placing it back upon the desk. This place, this world, is not always just, he remarked, yet I shall remain by your side. Her eyes smoldered with unshed tears, yet she held them back, only succumbing when he softly uttered, I trust you, Olivia. That remains constant, and it shall continue to be so. The evening was graced by a gentle rain. The sky hung low, shrouded in a muted light, while the streets shimmered beneath the heavy presence of looming storm clouds. Olivia perched by the window of her apartment, her sister Clara resting peacefully in the adjacent room. She ought to have experienced a sense of relief. The truth had finally emerged. Rachel found herself laid bare, yet Olivia found herself engulfed in emptiness. A knock echoed through the stillness, reverberating against the door. She opened it to reveal Alexander, not clad in his typical tailored suit, but instead wearing a dark coat with the collar turned up, his hair slick with rain. With one hand grasping a folder, he cradled an object snugly beneath his arm. I thought you might want to take a look at this, he murmured softly. He entered with an air of nonchalance, placing the folder upon her kitchen table. Olivia trailed behind. Within lay the digital trace logs, metadata records, and internal memos. The documents were meticulously clipped, adorned with annotations in Alexander's distinctive handwriting. A particular document revealed the precise moment Rachel accessed the file translated by Olivia, a mere 37 minutes following Olivia's last save from another terminal. She left a path, Alexander remarked with quiet certainty, and I pursued it. Olivia settled into her seat, her fingers gripping the edge of the table with increasing intensity. She expressed her confusion, questioning the reasons behind her actions. He responded with a tremor of apprehension, a dread of being supplanted, of fading into obscurity. It transforms certain individuals into embodiments of cruelty. She raised her gaze to meet his. From the very beginning, you placed your trust in me. I didn't need to believe, he said, settling into the chair opposite her. I have confirmed. Words hold little trust for me. I place my faith in patterns. Yet this one did not align with you. He gently pushed a tiny folded note across the table to her. She gently pried it open. I hold a firm conviction that accidents do not exist. I have faith in remnants. She smiled softly, a tear poised to escape. What brought you here tonight? She inquired. This could have been submitted via HR. For truth warrants more than a mere email, he declared. It merits being conveyed by one who truly perceives it. He rose to his feet, made his way to the window, and then pivoted to confront her once more. You entered my life, uninvited, he murmured gently. Yet, with each word you uttered, the atmosphere shifted in the room. Audiences were captivated. Oh, I wonder if I truly fit into your world, Olivia murmured. Not if it enables individuals like Rachel to flourish while causing individuals like you to question their own worth. He strolled back to her, placing a second item on the table, her beloved brand of dark chocolate, accompanied by a travel-sized bottle of lavender hand lotion. He remarked that he pays attention to the small things. In that moment, she understood that he had been observing all along, not to judge, but to comprehend. She rose gradually, the stillness enveloping them brimming with an unspoken weight. He approached the door, yet hesitated. He spoke without turning around, his voice steady. I'm not standing here tonight to be noble. I find myself here for when a person is in the right, when they have acted justly, they are worthy of having someone by their side. Then he cast a glance behind, and today that someone is I. The door clicked shut behind him, yet Olivia remained still. She lingered in that moment, heart brimming and throat constricted, gazing at the folder, the paper, the chocolate, the lotion, each a fragment of a narrative that whispered to her, you were never invisible. For the first time in years, she found herself believing it. The villa perched gracefully on a tranquil slope overlooking Lake Geneva, a harmonious fusion of stone and serenity, its ancient walls adorned with ivy, reminiscent of a bygone era. White curtains fluttered in the open windows, embracing the mountain air that flowed through the rooms like a sacred breath. It was a realm detached from the relentless march of time, free from the constraints of deadlines, and indifferent to the weight of titles. For a fortnight, The villa transformed into a sanctuary for the international team engaged in a pioneering collaboration with the United Nations, an endeavor aimed at advancing global digital education. Olivia received an invitation that transcended the role of mere interpreter. She was called upon as a strategist. Alexander, making his entrance as the CEO of Stone International, carried his usual authority, yet there was a noticeable lightness about him in this setting. More observant, less encased in his usual defenses. As the sun dipped below the horizon on the third evening, Olivia quietly entered the library, lured by the warm glow of the fire and the inviting aroma of aged leather-bound tomes. Alexander occupied a deep armchair by the window, his sleeves rolled up and tie absent, a book lying forgotten in his lap. As he gazed over the shadowy expanse of the lake, he caught sight of her, yet he remained silent for the moment. It becomes you, he murmured gently. She inclined her head, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. The room, this place, Geneva, you, he elucidated. She approached the fire, allowing its warmth to embrace her skin. It's peaceful, she remarked. It seemed as though no misfortune could possibly befall this place. He nodded in agreement. Perhaps it's simply you. Perhaps you embody tranquility wherever you go. The silence that ensued was anything but uncomfortable. The silence enveloped them, creating a sanctuary for breath, for understanding, for the unspoken truths that lingered in the air. As the night deepened, Olivia made her way back to her suite. The dim ambience enveloped the room, while a delicate, refined box rested gracefully upon her desk. Without a card, there lies no explanation. Enamel of midnight blue, adorned with silver trim, her initials gracefully etched near the base. Along the barrel, in cursive so delicate, it seemed to murmur, "To the one who articulates truths transcending mere words." She gazed at it for an extended moment, uncertain whether her heart was heavy with ache or brimming with something more profound. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. As she swung the door open, there stood Alexander, waiting. Without a blazer or the trappings of corporate life, he stands there, a man enveloped in silence, uncertainty etched across his features, holding his breath. "You enjoyed it?" he inquired, gesturing toward the pen she held. She remained silent, offering no words in response. She advanced and pressed her lips to his cheek, not for show, not for love, but for sincerity. He remained still, silent, his gaze fixed on her, with an expression that bordered on reverence. She glanced over her shoulder, her expression one of openness and fearlessness. What had once been uncertain between them had transformed completely. They did not succumb to one another that evening. They refrained from declaring eternal devotion or envisioning a shared tomorrow. Yet, an essence lingered, something tangible. In the days that ensued, they toiled together as a duo, transcending mere colleagues, forging a bond that felt much deeper. In meetings, their ideas harmonized even before their expressions found form. During their dinners, the conversations flowed not towards business, but rather towards the essence of new beginnings. He shared with her the story of his mother, a serene presence who had introduced him to Russian poetry at bedtime, a woman whose voice remained soft yet resonated with undeniable strength. She had departed while he was still in his youth, and a fragment of his being had fallen into silence alongside her. She recounted the sound of Clara's laughter, her sister's joy echoing in her memories before the accident changed everything. The way her eyes sparkled when the world aligned for just a moment, and how Olivia had mastered the art of speaking softly, deliberately, to connect with her. Language, she remarked, was the very thread that wove her into the fabric of existence. They never once inquired, "What do we truly represent?" There was no necessity for them to do so. On a morning just before the summit's concluding session, they found themselves in the stone kitchen, savoring espresso as the soft early light streamed through the windows. Alexander extended his hand toward a document, but then hesitated, his fingers brushing against hers. He spoke softly, "You're the first person I've ever desired to have by my side, neither trailing behind nor pursuing." Moreover, Olivia remained silent. She allowed her fingers to rest on his for a fleeting moment more. That sufficed. The waters of Lake Como glistened like molten glass under the embrace of the spring sun, their surface caressed by gentle ripples of wind and light. A gentle silence enveloped the world, as though time itself had paused to bear witness. At the precipice of a verdant cliff, embraced by cypress trees and steeped in history, stood a time-worn castle, adorned with white roses and entwined with climbing ivy. The air was infused with the delicate scents of lavender and lemon blossoms, swirling gently through silk drapes and ribbons that fluttered gracefully against the stone railings. Bells resonated in the morning, echoing softly like the murmurs of a sacred promise. In the sun-drenched courtyard, a meticulous arrangement of white chairs lined the cobblestone terrace, each placed with deliberate care. Every chair cradled a visitor from a distinct narrative woven into the couple's shared journey. Executives, ambassadors, childhood friends, and the once smiling neighbors who observed Olivia as she hurried to her third job. They now sat with their phones set aside and their hearts laid bare, witnessing not merely a ceremony but a narrative that had quietly unfolded through the art of language and ultimately into the embrace of love. In the distance, the music started to play. Strings, soft and swelling like a gentle breath. And then Olivia emerged into sight. She ambled gracefully, her movements deliberate, adorned in a silk gown of pure white that shimmered in the light like liquid. There were neither diamonds stitched into the hem, nor lace adorning her shoulders. The dress exuded simplicity and sincerity, much like her essence, as if the journals she had once filled with Russian idioms and pages, torn from forgotten textbooks, were coming to life once more. She carried no bouquet. Instead, she held a small fountain pen, its silver clip glinting softly against the deep midnight blue of the barrel, the very one Alexander had gifted her in Geneva. Alexander stood at the altar, clad in a suit of dove-gray linen, reminiscent of the gentle embrace of morning fog. His posture exuded a sense of calm, rooted in tranquility. Yet his gaze, those achingly gentle eyes, remained steadfastly fixed upon her. Not the moment she approached him, not when their fingers lightly grazed each other, not even when his voice quivered as the officiant beckoned him to share his words. He took a breath, the sound almost imperceptible, and then locked eyes with her. When I encountered her, he started, his voice soft yet resolute. She accomplished what no one had ever achieved before. She was attentive, even before I uttered a word. A soft whisper floated among the attendees. She refrained from inquiring about my possessions. She was indifferent to my origins, or the company I kept during the journey. She picked up the phone and spoke in Russian, a language that was foreign to me. In that instant, she transformed every notion I believed I grasped about trust. Yet, he hesitated. A subtle smile danced at the edges of his lips. She perceived me, not in my current state, but in the potential I held within. As Olivia approached, she moved with a steady grace, her heart quietly pounding beneath her ribs. When her voice emerged, it resonated with unwavering confidence. I vow to embody your voice in moments of stillness, and to embrace your silence when you seek to simply experience. She smiled, her eyes sparkling with a radiant glimmer. I shall serve as the voice of your heart for all the days that lie ahead of us. From the front row, Clara initiated the applause, her hands coming together slowly and with purpose, as she remained seated in her wheelchair adorned with flowers. Her joy illuminated her face, as though she had always been aware that this moment was destined to arrive. Once again the bells chimed. White petals floated down from the balconies above, carried by the gentle breeze, like whispered blessings. Under the gentle cascade, Alexander and Olivia drew closer, their lips brushing together for the very first time as husband and wife. It transcended the mere notion of a wedding. It was a vow, uttered in the softest of tones. A punctuation mark concludes a sentence that began years ago in a quaint cafe, where a girl picked up a call, thereby answering the very essence of her life. Under the expansive Italian sky, amidst the fragrant roses and gentle breezes, a narrative unfolds, one where two souls navigate the depths of understanding. What began as a mere translation ultimately reveals its profound essence. With affection, with faith, and a future crafted not from wealth, but from decisions. We appreciate your company on this remarkable adventure, transitioning from a serene cafe to a majestic castle by the shores of Lake Como. Olivia and Alexander's narrative serves as a poignant reminder that a single, simple act of kindness, a voice raised at just the right moment, has the power to transform everything. If this tale resonated with you, sparked a flicker of inspiration, or deepened your faith in the subtle enchantment of second chances, We warmly welcome you to join our community. Join us at Soul Stirring Stories for more heartfelt narratives like this one. Narratives woven with threads of affection, tenacity, and the remarkable strength found in the most basic bonds between people. Your upcoming beloved tale awaits, merely a click away.